Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Inspired Action Life podcast. I'm your host, Karen Baldridge. And as you can see, we're doing a little bit different of a format today. It's a little wacky for me to be on video and seeing myself talk back at me. But hey, I'm just doing it, right? Because we're breaking boundaries here and we're doing new things. And I'm starting a new series, as I told you the last podcast, where I am bringing on inspirational guests that I know some of their story, but I don't know all their story. But these are people that I know have taken risks, overcome obstacles, and it means something to me. And it has impacted me seeing their journey. And I love the bravery. I love that courage is a muscle. And this woman I have here today is courageous. She is brave. She's innovative. She is inspirational, and I know that you're going to feel it right here when she tells you her story of how she's just doing it scared, and she was not going to accept like the status quo that I have been droning on for podcasts about just shaking it up, change nothing and nothing changes. So I've been talking about this, and that's why I'm bringing to you some interesting guests. And this is my girl, my friend, former colleague, Miss Kelly Sodergren. And she has so many accolades, but we'll get to that in the actual interview. I'm going to let you know what her whole story is. So without further ado, here's my girl, Kelly. Hey there, Kelly.
Hi, my love. How are you?
I am doing so good. We finally had some sunshine today. So, that just makes all the difference. Tell me that just doesn't brighten the day, right?
It literally does. It's just like a halo. I love it.
It is. And so that alone was just something that inspired me, right?
Right.
So I think that, for your story, I think it's always best anybody's story, to begin at the beginning. So
Okay.
my first real question for you is, where'd you grow up? Tell me about your life a little bit coming up to where you are right now. And let's just talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, I love my roots and my upbringing, so I'm glad you asked. I'm from a small town, Northeast Ohio, called Wadsworth. It's a suburb of Akron. Growing up, really, we had to drive 15 minutes to get anywhere. The McDonald's came when I was much older, and that was about the only place to hang out when I was in high school if we didn't want to make a drive to Akron. Parents still married, 52 years, pretty awesome. One sister, and great little kind of, I would say it was a leave it to beaver kind of a lifestyle. Yeah, my dad worked really hard, and my mom made sure that me and my sister and my dad had everything that we needed. It was her job to tend to us, and it was a good little life. I learned super early on, probably about 9 years old, that I struggled to feel, what's the right word for it? I struggled to feel grounded, kind of rooted, focused. I realized much later on that I had ADHD, and that's maybe a big conversation for another day if you have any other ADHD guests, but I've struggled with it my whole life. But this is an important part of the story because this is how I fell in love with fitness. So for me, it felt a little bit like the walls would be closing in, like I'd be home and everybody would be content watching TV, but not me. I felt like, I always say it's like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. I felt trapped. And when I felt like that, I got I guess today, probably the mental health term for it would be anxious. I've maybe had anxiety. I was feeling like, and I noticed no one else was ever feeling, like that. But what I recognized was, hey, if I go outside and I run around, I feel perfect. Then I can come back in and then I'm on the same level with everyone else. That was an interesting early finding. But when you're trying to self-diagnose and you don't know you're trying to self-diagnose because you're 9 years old, you're more like you're a little bit more like Pavlov's dog, right? So that's how I grew up, being very symptomatic and reactive, right? Like when this happens, this is how I feel. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started, oh, wow. Okay. The more I do that, the better I feel more often. And by that, I mean the more physical activity, right?
Right.
So I obviously was always super energetic. I just have been my entire life. And I remember my mom telling my dad to take me to the little sporting goods store and buy a stopwatch so that he could time me running. And I was a bit like the family pet, I think. You know, I needed I needed exercise.
Little comparison.
Yeah, it was like I needed daily exercise. You know, she's got to
Right.
get all these things before she can simmer down with the rest of us, right? Because I was like, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. Can we do something? Can we go somewhere? I was that kid, you know, really,
Yep.
really, really annoying for my parents. So my dad went to Smee's Sport Shop. Shout out to Smee's in my hometown. You're not there anymore, but it was great memories. That's actually where I took my first live aerobics class at Smee's Sport Shop. And
Really?
that's a
That's
funny
another
story. Yeah.
story.
Yeah, I was in love with all that stuff from an early age. But we went to Smee's and we got the stopwatch and we went up to Durling Park and my dad would say, go to that tree. You know? Yeah.
Okay.
Run as fast as you can to that tree and come back. So that's what I would do. And he would say, oh, 40 seconds or whatever, you know? And
Yeah.
isn't it funny, a stopwatch? Now we've got
Yeah.
all this on our phones and we had this
Yeah, it's too
antiquated
easy.
little, that's
Yeah.
so funny, so funny. So, you know, he would say, that was 2 seconds better than your last effort or whatever. Yes. But really what my dad was doing, is he's a super smart guy, is he was keeping me excited and engaged long enough to wear me out. You know,
Yeah. Smart
long
guy.
enough. When I got back home, my mom wasn't losing her mind with, I'm bored. Can we go somewhere? Can we do something? You know, and then we would sit down together as a family and I could, you know, behave like the rest of the humans in my household.
Yep.
And I started just doing that more and more. I went to private school. My parents sent us to Catholic school. And very early, probably 10, 11, I struggled a lot to do what everyone else was doing. You know, they would be sitting and seeming like they were fine. And I had that crawling out of my skin feeling, you know,
Okay.
and like, oh my gosh, if I don't get out of here, I might explode. And I would watch the clock. And I'm grateful, you know, my brain works pretty good. So
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
able to keep up with the class, even though I wasn't keeping up with the class. I was in another complete other world. I was in deep in my head. I was a great doodler and I would spend the entire period doodling, watching the clock and just waiting for recess, you know, just praying and waiting for recess.
Oh, yes.
And when I was 6, I actually broke this wrist. I was climbing the monkey bars and the nun was ringing the bell. It was time to go in. And I just had to get to the end, you know?
Oh,
and Kelly, she rang the bell. Down I went, you know? This wrist was here and the hand, the arm was down here. I was like, oh yeah, that's broken.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just that was my happy time. You know, that's when I felt good. And then we'd go back into the classroom and it would be a problem all over again. And I would have to go home at the end of the school day and relearn all the work that was taught during the day by myself. So it was a burden, but I didn't understand it. But luckily, you know, I'm a driven person and I was motivated. So I did the work. And obviously today at 48 years old, I recognize that I have a neurological disorder, and that's what ADHD is. It's a neurological disorder. And, you know, I take medication for that. And most of the times it works, but you're going to have to, you know,
it's going to be a couple times. We're going to have to reel you back in.
Yeah, I try not to go too deep in because I also can, you know, be a storyteller. So I try not to go too deep in. But essentially, it was, again, that Pavlov's dog thing that I'm talking about, where I moved my body. I felt okay.
And you made that connection early on, because that right there is an important pivotal point that you're making right there, is that somehow your 9-year-old, 10-year-old 12-year-old, maybe even up to 15, 16-year-old self knew that this is a difference maker for me.
Right.
And one thing I didn't mention at the beginning of this is I'm calling this series Success Leaves Clues. And
Oh.
the reason I'm calling it this is because if we all have the opportunity or just the quiet time, and what's a better time during quarantine to look back and really get introspective about our lives, we can suddenly gain a lot of clarity over what we were when we were growing up is who we probably should be when we're older. So in other words, the things that you loved as a 6-year-old, as a 7-year-old, is your almost nirvana as an older person, an adult, and then to be able to make a living out of whatever it is that you loved as a 6-year-old because you did it uninhibited, you weren't being judged.
Yep.
Right. So people weren't like condemning you for this. It was just like, oh, she's a rambunctious 6-year-old and
Right.
love.
Yeah.
And that's who you were when you were 6. And so that's your best clue that you knew that, I'm kind of athletic. I'm fast. I like to move my body and it makes me feel good.
That's right.
And so that picture was starting to come together.
Right.
So now tell me about, like, now that let's bring you up to 18. So what did you do? And were you as focused or certain and driven at 18 as you were maybe when you were like 15? What happened after 18? Where'd you go from there?
Funny that you asked that, because I still had the deep desire to be really physical. So I joined the military.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
The military. And I joined the Air Force, and I was a bit bummed, not knocking the Air Force, but I was a bit bummed at how, what I would call simple, the athletic portion.
Oh my gosh.
I was thinking, gosh, I'm going to be, getting dirty and climbing in the mud and doing obstacles, and sorry, Air Force, but you just aren't that hard. It was like you had to run a mile to get through basic training. And, but what I did do, it was in San Antonio, Texas, in the middle of the summer. It was very hot, which I love to be hot, so it wasn't a problem for me. But what I did do was I entertained myself, and I passed the time by helping all the out of shapers, as I call them, get through boot camp.
There's another clue.
Get that mile in. And so much to the point where we were out on a red flag day, which means you can't be out on red flag days. Too hot,
Oh, sure.
We got the whole, airman, do you not see that flag? That whole thing.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's an important part of the story to know my military background, because my father was Army, and I was raised in a house of, structure and discipline and rules. And my dad, love you. I know you're probably listening. You're gonna be like, what's she gonna say about me?
Yeah.
Literally the softest, hardest man you'll ever meet in your life.
Well said. Yeah.
Yes, the scariest, most loving, gentle human being in the world, but you didn't want to be in trouble by my dad. You didn't want to be waiting all day for the spanking that was going to come at the end of the day.
You knew what's coming.
Yeah, well, because my mom would say, wait till your dad gets home, and this is how they work together.
Yeah.
And when dad got home, he'd say, where are they? And it was that kind of a thing. But my sister and I knew, you squeeze your butt in tight enough, it wasn't going to hurt. you get one swat, but it was more just the disappointment. I hated to disappoint my father, but I actually took that discipline and that structure that I learned from, my basic training and from my father. And then it became an extra layer of kind of the person that I am. And I also recognized how much more humans are capable of than they think. Good. And it became my job really to go, so I say this a lot to people, so, I mean, if you really say that to yourself, so, like everything that you say, and you say so after it, anything is achievable. Like,
that's so good.
you know?
That's so good.
Just so.
Yes, I
And
love it.
so because people feed me so many excuses and reasons
Oh,
why.
I know. Like me, I can't take your class. I'll die.
And I give you a
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and honestly, that's why I'm loving these virtual classes right now, because a lot of people who maybe would have wanted to take my classes and didn't, kind of out of some sort of fear or
Yeah.
anxiety, right, of being in a group setting,
Right.
they're doing it. Hey, you can turn your video off and you can do as much or as little as you want. I'm still going to yell at you, and it's up to you
Yeah.
whether or not, it's up
Yes,
to
she
you.
does, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's my
Yes, she does.
thing. I like to
Yeah.
do that. It's up to you whether or not you want to do it or not. But I
Yeah.
learned that we're capable of a lot. And so I was pushed in that way, and I became, just super passionate about pushing myself to my limits to see what they were, and I haven't found them yet. I have a
Wow.
meeting in 40
Crazy.
minutes with my girlfriend, who's gonna try to get me into a handstand, because I've never been able to do handstands. So this is just part of my personal growth and journey. We are amazing humans, and I like to strip everything away from myself and from other people, the story, that we tell
Yeah.
ourselves, the
Yes,
excuses.
we
And
all have the
yeah,
story.
and I
And
just
you're
want to just
intentional. What's great right now, and that I want to get into a little bit with
yeah,
you, is that goal setting. You dare to have goals, but you're one of the lucky ones that naturally, you just have to do it. And I always, I know I have said to you in the past that it reminds me of, I took a little like course or whatever on Ayurveda, which, it's the doshas and how humans are in like 3 different dosha groups, being,
right.
vata, air and wind, and then pitta, which is water and fire, and that is you.
Oh yeah.
And then there's kapha, which are more grounded and peaceful. So you're earth,
Yeah.
and you are very pitta, fire, and driven. So tell me about how, not only, have you always been goal centric? I mean, you've always like pushed yourself, but how did this then start to take shape into a career for you? Like, how did you start to pull all these pieces of yourself together
Right.
and go, I need to do something about this? And then we're going to start to wedge into your entrepreneurial kind of
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Because
adventures.
good Lord, I could stay stuck in 18 and under for 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yes, I
I mean,
understand that.
there's a lot there, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I wish that I would have figured it out sooner. I will say
Yeah, we
that.
all do. We all do.
I wish I would have figured it out sooner. I wish I would have, learned how to tap into my gut and how to start to go, well, how can you make a living out of what you love? Because that's what I think is so important. And I heard Melanie Robbins say, I just love her. And I heard her say, I love all the Robbins. I love Tony, love
Oh
Melanie.
yeah.
I heard her say, you don't find your passion, because everybody's like, oh, you know, I wish I could find my passion. Passion isn't something you find, it's something you feel. It's already in you, right?
Yes,
It's
it's
already in you.
completed.
Like,
Your 6-year-old self knows it, and
yeah,
that's why you need to reintroduce yourself to your 6-year. They know what you're passionate
yeah,
about. They did it with reckless abandonment.
exactly. And that's what I tell people, Karen. I say to people, what are the things that you do during your day that bring you the most joy?
Hmm.
Whatever it is.
Hmm.
It might be cooking, it might be the cleaning up part. Hey, some
Yeah,
people
yeah.
like
Some
to,
people like
some
that.
people want to organize and tidy, whatever. But
Marie Kondo,
yeah, what
a
I
whole
say to
brand.
people, does it spark joy? That's all
Yep,
I
that it
know.
sparks joy.
I love that whole spark joy thing, but
I
I
do
think there's
too.
something to that. And essentially that's like, does it feel good, right? And
Right,
it's the same thing with your passion. Like when I do certain things, I do them because I have to. I want to get them done quickly so I can move on to the things that feel good, that bring me joy, right?
right,
Because whatever that other thing was, it's just not my passion. I do it because I have to, but I'm not
right.
passionate about it.
Yeah, there's the have tos and there's the want tos,
Yeah, there's so
and
many things I do during the day though that I love and I'm passionate about. Well, here's the thing that people need to really understand. A lot of people will say to me, well, I don't know what my passion is. You don't? Yes, you do. What are the things that light you up? What are the things that spark joy, Marie, right? Every day. What are
right.
the things that spark joy for you? That's your passion. Now what you have to do is recognize that that wouldn't be your passion if that wasn't supposed to be your contribution, right? That's what you're supposed to contribute to the world. So I felt very going against the grain, very like just phony, like I was living a false life because I was in finance for many years. I worked in banking.
Oh dear, that seems light years away.
Yeah, I just,
from-
I came out of the military, I went to college, and I got my degree, and I went into finance. And that I did that for 14 years in one aspect or another. And I always was just, I felt very dissatisfied. And I would say a lot. And if you're listening to this or watching this and you say this to yourself or to anyone else, I want you to commit to making a change. But I would say to myself a lot, I mean, what's the point? How is what I'm doing? You know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. How is what I'm doing making a difference in anybody's life?
Yes.
It just wasn't. I was like, so I'm making these little tweaks that are charging people more insufficient fund fees or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it just, to me, it wasn't fulfilling. Hey, if that's
but it is for other people. That's the interesting things. So, as a side note, like my husband has been in the finance, whole thing since college, and that like fulfills him.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So there's just people who have different poles in their life, different things that they feel full and alive and connected with.
That's right.
Some people can find that in corporate America, and I still have friends who have definitely found that. Without a doubt. But you were one and I was one. We're kindred spirits that way, where you and I worked together in corporate America, and we were both like at the same time, really like,
what's the point?
What are we doing?
What's the point?
What is the point for us?
Yeah, but I agree. No, and that's the thing. Like, there are 7 billion people in the world, and we are all built so differently. Think of all of the things that need to happen though in our society so that we can all enjoy life, right? That's why everybody has an important contribution, but I'm just saying you got to find yours, right?
Yeah, your joy. Yeah.
I hope yours is in banking because mine wasn't. We need bankers, right? So
yeah. So I'm glad yours was.
If you wake up in the morning with fire in your belly and you're excited about the work you're doing, and here's the other thing, you also know it's your passion when you're good at it, when it comes easy. If it doesn't come easy for you, it's probably not your contribution, because you should
talk on that. We need to talk about that because that is the crux of this. How do I know what my passion is, or how do I do anything about it, or how is it going to make my life any better? Oh, you just do not even understand the difference that is when you're living in not only doing something that you love, but you're intentionally seeking it. And every day you wake up and it's like, boom, the first thing on your mind, how am I going to make more headway towards like the goal of this thing that I love to do? What am I going to do today to better myself? At what point did you become more intentional? Because I know that you've had some business, success already, and you've built out a brand already that was awesome for a nice long chunk of time. A lasting brand.
So funny, I'll just really quickly go back to my finance career, my gig.
Yeah, and how you made that.
Because I found out on the little intranet, the internal internet site, that the bank that I was at had access to a gym that nobody knew about. It was like an old benefit that was buried in the internet. And so I was like, wow, we have access to this gym. So at lunchtime, I started taking, my little cube mates with me over to the gym, and we would work out. And we would get up, 11:50 or whatever. And, people would see us leave the same time, come back. And then word got out. And then my little group of 2 was became like 15.
Oh, the Pied Piper. Here you are.
So funny. So there was a whole crew, and we'd go over, I'd write out these workouts, and I got so much joy out of just, first of all, the community, just the community of people going together and enjoying that. And second of all, just the fun that I had pushing them, and we all had pushing each other, and seeing people, make great strides. It was so rewarding until the little gym that we were at was like, where are all these people coming from? And then they
shut you down.
They told us the benefit was over.
Oh, dang.
So, but it was during those years that was probably 13, 14 years ago now. It was during those years that I would say, if someone would just teach, or someone would just pay me to teach yoga, if someone would just pay me to lift weights, I'd be the happiest person in the world. So what I want to say to everybody is, if someone would pay me to do X, I'd be the happiest person in the world.
Good question.
Good
question.
Because the answer to that is your true passion. It's your true contribution.
There is no doubt. I phrase it in the way that I would do this for free. So therefore, I know this is what I love to do, because even if you didn't pay me, I would still be doing this.
So doing it free, and I've been doing my virtual classes for free for the past probably 6 years.
Yes, you have.
And it's been bringing me so much joy, But I want to stay on path with your question. And you kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how I actually turned this thought into reality.
Into a thing, because thoughts become things. And so I want to see that whole process of how it became this out here from here to here. So
I was just this is at the point that you and I were working together.
Yeah.
And I just knew it was like, I was like, what's the point, right? Like I said to you before, this isn't, I felt like God or the universe or whatever your thing is, whatever you believe in, hopefully you believe in something that's, pulling you to contribute to the world that you're living in. But I felt like, I believe in God, so I'll just say God. I felt like God was going to be severely disappointed in the way I spent my life here. If I stayed in that job that I was in before, like Kelly, like I had
under the line.
Yeah. I thought I'd meet up with him someday and he'd be like, man, you blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it. I had so many bigger things planned for you. You were supposed to go out and, live with joy and passion. And that was supposed to be your contribution. You weren't supposed to do that, 8 to 5 job that you were so dissatisfied with. And that's another thing I'll say to people, like that gut, right, Karen, you're talking about that, like dissatisfaction in your soul, that like feeling of unfulfillment.
Yes.
That's your spirit, your soul telling you something's off, something's wrong. Something's majorly wrong. You need to listen to that, and you can't just push it aside because you have bills, because that's when I would say, so, that's when I'm going to say to you, so, like I've sacrificed a lot to get where I am, and I'm rebuilding again, kind of back from square one after having fitness studios for the past 10 years. But the way that I got my first fitness studio is, I didn't quit my day job, because here's the thing, don't add that stress to yourself. Everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs shelter, right? A lot of people just, I'm going to teach yoga and make a living at it. Probably not right out of the gate.
Not likely. Yeah.
It might be, if you can get a gig, it might be some nice extra fun money for you, but it's not going to pay your bills, right? So the first thing I say to people is keep your day job, right? So you don't have that stress. And then you're just going to have to work in those odd hours to find time to build your dreams. So that's what I did. I actually found a little studio in town that would let me rent space. And I rented 3 hours a week, and I went in there and I put some flyers up. I mean, this was 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And so it was really before, the web wasn't as popular.
Right.
Instagram, there wasn't even Facebook, I don't think. So essentially I just put flyers up places and people started coming to my class. And then when I got about 50 regular members, the owner of this studio, and I'm still friends with him today, Judd Beekler and Deborah Hinkle, his wife, at the Yoga Factory in town, they said, you can do this, So, and look for cheerleaders in your life. I will say that. Look for cheerleaders and supporters.
There's always them. If you look for them, they're always on the sidelines there.
But here's the thing. If they see you, right, right, Karen, if they see you fulfilling your passion and they know you're good at the thing, you know,
Yeah.
they want you to do it. Like good people want you to be successful at
Yes, they
what
do.
they think your contribution is, right?
Yes, there's
So
no question.
yeah, they were great people and they were just like, you can do this. You can do this. Go out on
Mhm.
your own and so girl, I rented a tiny little, it used to be a realtor's office and it was
Okay.
just one big room and I rented it. It was the exact same rental price as my monthly mortgage payment. So I was freaking out a little bit.
Oh, now see, there's the risk. See, that's the
Oh,
taking the risk and what I call like flexing your courage muscle, right?
yeah.
'Cause you have to do it with a wing and a prayer. You have
Oh,
no idea. You're going to pay that down payment and all of a sudden you owe something. What if no one shows? You have a million things you have to overcome, right?
so scary. And I think I signed a 2-year lease right out of the bat.
Oh, God.
So scary, and
So scary.
have a family and I was putting
Yes.
everybody was at risk because I wanted to take this risk, but I had
Yes. I
supporters
feel it.
and cheerleaders and that helped so much. So just fast forward, that business really grew and I ended up with a partner, an investor, and we had 2 studios, and that's what I've done the past 10 years is I've run those studios and built those studios, and now I'm out on my own building another brand. But it's
Here you
funny
go
because
again.
it was the gut again, though. My gut was like, I used to say to people. So here's the other thing I'll say to all of you out there. What are the things you say out loud to people, right?
Mm.
Like, do you really hear yourself? Because I used to say to people, gosh, I wish I could get in front of so many more people than these studio walls would hold. I
Hmm.
said that all the time. I would
Hmm.
go in every class and I felt like, I had something to contribute.
Right.
It wasn't just about fitness for me, as you know, it was about the message,
Yeah, yeah, it's the
it was
whole
about the
thing. The
emotional thing.
connection, the
Yeah.
mind
What
body.
I learned when I was a little girl, I do this, I feel this way. So for me,
Exactly.
it was the end result. That's what drove me. Like, hey, so I would take that time in my militant way that you either love or
Of
hate.
course. Yep.
And I would tell these people, these things like, hey, are you listening to your gut? What were you put
Mm.
here to do? Is that really what you were put here to do? Is that all the better that
Yeah.
you are going to ask of yourself at the end of your life? Do you feel really
Yeah.
good about what you did? Are you going to have to
Yeah.
stand in front of someone at the end and say, well, you know what? I didn't want to feel uncomfortable, so I didn't take
Yeah.
that risk, because
Exactly.
I read a meme the other day and it said, everybody loves a stubborn heart, right? And it's so
Yeah.
I'm like, you might
Mm.
laugh at me and I'm going to fall and I take a lot of risks. So with that comes
Mhm.
failure. And, you might enjoy that, but just know I'm always getting up. I'm always
Oh
getting,
yeah. You
I'm
ain't
always
staying
getting back.
down for
I
long. I
don't
mean,
like, I might just keep getting drugged through the mud. I might keep getting knocked down and it's probably funny to watch. But I think what's really highly entertaining to watch is the get up, you know,
oh gosh, yes.
like watch this girl get up. She just doesn't stay down for long. And so at the end of my life, I want to be able to stand in front of whoever I have to stand in front of and whoever I have to answer to and go, yeah, whew, that was
Yeah, that was a hell of a ride,
yeah,
wasn't
that was something.
it?
But I mean, yes, I loved every bit of it because I always tell people it's not the things we accumulate, it's the experiences.
Oh, I
And
agree
then
with
to
that completely. And so when you live so limited and you're so fearful of the risk, because I saw a quote, let me think of this, was it say something like people would prefer to live in misery than in something about being uncomfortable than ever trying to put themselves in an uncomfortable place for growth, something like that. And I'm like, it's so true though, because it's
wow.
easier to be miserable and safe, you
Yeah.
know, and predictable than to really kind of step out of your comfort zone and go, okay, here I am. Like, okay, what do like, come what may, it's just so hard to do that. And so only certain people are willing to.
Well, here's the thing about that. I have taken a lot of risks. I have made a lot of changes in my life.
Mhm.
And I'm here to tell you, it is brutal. Okay, I don't ever want to sugarcoat that. I don't ever want to sugarcoat it. You are going to cry yourself to sleep
Yep.
at night.
Yep.
You
You are.
are going to be filled with so much fear and
Mhm.
emptiness and loneliness. And it's in the emptiness and the loneliness that you find what was meant to fill you up.
You are in receiving mode. I
Yeah,
say that all the time.
because you're
Once you
empty.
finally drive over that
Yeah,
cliff and you're in midair,
yep.
it's like the inspiration from the universe just
Oh,
all of a sudden, it
yeah.
just engulfs you.
It's
And
it's so true,
it's
Karen. It's so
amazing. It
amazing.
is amazing.
When you empty out everything that wasn't serving you, right?
Yes,
When
all
you
the
empty out
toxic.
everything that you wanted to change in your life, and when you eliminate relationships or jobs or whatever it is, anything that's bringing you unhappiness, and you eliminate it,
Mhm.
what do you do when it's gone? You have created space, right? You've
Right.
created space. And so creating the space, I'm here to tell you, is the hardest part, right? You create the space, but if you don't make room, the good stuff that was meant for you has nowhere to go.
Falls off the side. It's
Has
like
nowhere to
the
go. Yeah,
cup,
it
the overspill of the
can't
cup,
get
and
in.
then
Yeah, it
yeah.
can't get in. It can't get in. But I'm not gonna ever lie to you or tell you that that process is easy. I hope you have an easier journey than I have. I have had to empty out everything, and then I'm very careful about what I let back in.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's funny. I have a really hard time like going into a yoga class. And okay, so age, there is something about wisdom comes with age, right? But going
Yes.
to a yoga class and there's a new 19-year-old who just got his 200-hour, yoga teacher training certificate, and
Yeah.
he's, giving me all of the directions of the universe. I have a hard time receiving that because, you know, I just feel like, how much have you lived, But here I am at 48, and I'm telling you, I've been through it all. So
Wisdom born of pain.
much. Yes.
Mhm.
And so, as much as I wish I didn't have to live through some of this pain, and I
Mhm.
wish that I didn't have to just take that journey, I just don't think that it's possible to fully be who you're supposed to be or
Won't
contribute.
grow. You
Yeah,
won't grow.
without that. So I guess I would say to people, just understand if your gut is saying something's out of whack, something's off balance,
Mhm.
then you have to ask yourself what needs emptied,
Yep.
right? And then it's on you to do it. You can do it, Karen, what you said, and stay in that unhappy place because it's safe and comfortable. Because, hey, if you're afraid to be uncomfortable, then don't make changes in your life because you are going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're gonna be the same person in 10 years from now
Yeah.
that what you are right now. And that was the pivotal point where I couldn't even deal with that anymore because I was so uncomfortable. They say like when an eagle has his little eaglets in his nest that they make, mama eagle eventually makes that nest really uncomfortable for the eaglets. So that way they won't get too comfortable, like feed me, and
They
wait for
get
mom
out.
to do everything.
They leave.
She's trying to eat
Ah,
all the sticks, and so they'll fly out and get out on their own.
look
And
at
so
that.
that's how she kicks them out of the nest. And so when you are feeling that uncomfortableness
Mm,
in your own life or your nest,
yeah.
I just say, that's why I'm highlighting people like you, and I'm going through the journey myself too, that
Yeah.
you have the choice to act on it. All I knew is I couldn't not act. I couldn't
Oh,
be who I was 10 years from now
yeah.
and still do nothing. I'm doing the same exact thing, and
Yep.
I'm the same exact person. I haven't grown. I haven't stretched myself. And so that's why I think that this is so important what you're saying right now. It's the journey. You have to get real comfortable with being uncomfortable if you want growth.
You do. And, you just have to know. I will say this to people because there will be really dark days. I never want anyone to think that this has been an easy journey for me because I keep getting up when I shouldn't. I recognize that. I recognize that. I'm getting up when I'm like, wow, maybe I should have just stayed down because,
Yeah.
it's just such a journey. But, if you don't do it, you'll never know, right?
Yeah.
You'll never know. So what I want people to do is just get really curious about the what if, and allow the what if to drive them. But here's what I'll say when you hit the dark days. because I've had some lately. I found out that I am very impacted by lack of sunshine.
I think I
Yeah.
am as well. I
Yes.
do believe
Seasonal
that.
affective disorder, it's a thing. The days that I wake up and the sun's shining, I'm like, oh, I'm singing in the rain, just sing.
Mhm.
The days when I get up in
Yeah.
the potty, I feel like
Heavy.
there's what we called it in track, we call it the bear on your back,
Oh.
start out real good. And then that bear gets on your back and you go real slow. I feel like that bear's on my back. But here's what I really want to say to people. It's just such an important thing to say and to hear, is that, you won't feel this way tomorrow. You
Yes.
have to recognize that this is how I'm feeling
Exactly.
today, but I know
Right.
I won't feel this way always.
Hmm.
And if I continue to feel this way, you can say to yourself, if I continue to feel this way for X number of days, I'll talk to someone, or I'll get help, or
Yeah.
I'll reach out, right?
Right.
But for me, I know I'm going to have crap days. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, hell, today's not a great day, but what keeps me going and chugging along is that I know there are so many great days down the road and around the corner. Plus, I'm really curious to see what happens on the journey. It's really fun.
Oh, it's really cool when you can wake up in this intentional living space.
Yes.
It's like I describe it as
Yeah.
almost like magic is
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
all around you. I mean, like no matter what, every day there is always these touch points of magic, little touches of light. It's really interesting. Like you'll see like the same number pop up here and there. I'm seeing the 111
Oh,
all the
yes.
time. I'm so focused that I see it all the time now, where I was just living on rote before, where I didn't see it. So it's a different space. That's what intentional living feels
Yeah,
like, and
you're aware.
being intentional with it.
Yeah.
So,
I try
that's the
to
difference.
teach that, people think I teach fitness, but I don't. That's what I try. I'm trying so hard for people to understand that
It's
I'm not
deeper.
teaching fitness. I'm
Yeah.
teaching you how to live your life with joy, to take
Yes.
risks, to
Yeah.
find strength you didn't know that you had, and
Yeah.
to go after whatever it is your passion is,
Yeah.
and to contribute. Because here, Tony Robbins will say all the time, like, when a human is not contributing,
Mhm.
they're completely dissatisfied with their life. There's no happiness there. We're happiest. We're very complicated, complex creatures, right? But we're happiest when we're contributing, when we're giving back. That's what we crave to do. That's what we want to do. So,
Yes.
just staying on that
It
path.
is. So tell me about what you're
Yeah.
doing here right now and where people
Yeah.
can find you
Yeah.
and
Thanks.
follow
Yeah.
up.
Okay, great. So right now I'm it worked out great for me because
Yeah.
I'm in the land of virtual fitness.
Yeah.
Remember,
Perfect.
you should you should always listen to the things you say out loud. And remember, I said the thing I always said out loud was, gosh, I love, teaching to these people in these four walls. But here's the thing. It was the same people all the time getting my message too.
Your
You know?
regulars. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted, like, I feel like my contribution is this message that I have for people, and the
Yeah.
way that I deliver the message through the fitness, use the fitness as a vehicle, right?
Right. It's a vehicle.
Yeah.
Right.
To get the message in there.
Yep.
And it goes very well hand in hand with what you're saying, this awareness of life, just
Mm-hmm.
opening up and kind of
Magic.
living in the
Yeah.
present moment and all of that. So that's what I'm teaching people to do. And I would say, gosh, I don't want to be limited by these walls. So now I call it no walls.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
have
like it.
I have no walls virtual fitness, and I'm able to reach a lot of people. I have friends tuning in from California. I had a friend from London tune in. So it's just been amazing. People who used to take my classes that have moved out of the state have been able to be with me again.
Yeah.
And, I'm just hoping to grow this whole thing, because really, I'm not in it for the physique, I always say that's a nice byproduct. That's a nice symptom of it.
Yeah.
But that's not
I would take that from you. That would be great. Hey.
not why I do it. That's not why I do it. But see, that's the beautiful thing, is that you do the work for the purpose, right? And then the physique just comes, and the low heart rate just comes, the low blood pressure just comes. the right food choice making just comes.
Yeah, that does.
Those are byproducts of
Right.
tapping into the soul. I call it the soul state, right? So this is my whole contribution. The reason why I think God someday might say, you know what, good job, Kelly. Good
I
job.
put that in you.
Yeah.
You did something about it.
You did
Well
something.
done.
I mean, I thought that last time I knocked you down, you were going to stay down, but you know what?
Nope, not my girl.
Once in a while, someone will send me a text and say, huh, you know what? Just watching you get back up has been pretty entertaining.
Love it.
I'm like, well,
Love it. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons you're here as my very first inaugural guest.
oh, I'm so honored to be
Had
here.
so many, ups and downs and challenges, but you just come out swinging, and you're still a bright light
You know
and
what?
optimistic.
Thank you, Karen. And it's so funny. I will tell you. So getting uncomfortable is another muscle like anything. And I'm not going to drone on forever, but we could break this up into so many.
I know we could. Well, we may have to have another touch base and tell the rest of the story.
Yeah. I'll leave my website at the end, but what I really just kind of want to say is that I just want people to not find their passion, but feel their passion, right?
Love it. Yep.
Not find their passion, feel their passion. Get okay with getting uncomfortable. And then the last thing I'll say about getting uncomfortable is that just like anything, just like a muscle, right, that you train over time, I always say what once was difficult will become easy. What once was difficult will become easy. If you do anything enough, it becomes easy. It's like,
it does. It does.
It's mindless. You don't even have to think about it. It's like breathing, right?
Right.
So being uncomfortable is no different than that. It is absolutely no different than that. The first 100 times that you're really brutally uncomfortable, it's difficult. The 101st time, or whatever the number is for you,
somehow
it's
the
amazing.
dial moves.
Now I just go, so then you'll go, you'll just
really a little compassion, please, for your not fitness forward friend. No, she just harasses in these classes.
And
I'll tell you right now. She takes no prisoners.
I'm gonna ride you and say so, because I don't care about the fitness for you. I care about what's going to come out of
and
you.
Stretching, the borders
out of you from the fitness that you're doing.
Yes,
that's what I care about, and I just want everyone to know that even being uncomfortable gets easy. I find it quite easy to be joyful and happy, even in my unhappiest times. This is a little apartment. I lived in a house for many, many years, and so, one of the things is like, so Kelly, you want to start another business? Well, you know what? You're probably going to have to downsize. If you're not willing to do those things for your passion, well, then you're never going to have a passion-filled, purpose-filled life, right? You're never going to have true happiness. You're not going to reach your soul state.
And this is uncomfortable.
Yourself. So what if someone says, hey, you're going to have to sell half of your shoes and half of your handbags? I can't do that. I can't do that, because if I do that, well then, then I say so.
Yes. So okay.
Sell them all. If it means you're gonna really live, but you gotta break out of that mold, and you gotta let fear tap in, and you gotta let it live there, and you gotta be okay with the fact that you
gotta coexist with the fear. You do, because the fear is what is like the gasoline on the fire, which is the fire that's burning, like your fire of will, determination, your vision. Your vision gets so much clearer. Your creativity, it's very juicy. It's very flow state. It's very juicy. I mean, when you do it with the fear, and you do stuff that you never thought you would even want or try or ever accomplish doing. I love it. I love it now that whole.
And then the funny thing is that you just have to get unfrozen, and you have to do one thing.
Yes, one thing. You're right.
You don't know necessarily what the end point looks like. I have a strong vision of what I want to accomplish and what I want to do, but I don't necessarily know where this whole thing's going to take me. I know that I love helping people. I know that I want them to use fitness as a vehicle to tap into their soul, right? Because that's when they're going to figure life out. That's when they're going to figure their life out. And they're just going to be healthy and happy as a result and look pretty.
Yeah,
And
and
look
that's just a nice byproduct. Exactly.
it's just a byproduct. So that's my work. That's my contribution. You can find me on Kelly Sodergren Method. It's a mouthful. KellySodergrenMethod.com, and we'll put it in the notes if we.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes so you guys will be able to no doubt find her, and any new things you have going, I'm going to throw that in the show notes as
You're
well.
amazing.
So that
And
way.
you know what? I'm going to ask you if I can interview you, because this will be the next show that I want everybody to see, is that Karen is fascinating and multifaceted and just one of the absolute best human beings I've ever met in my entire life. And we are kindred spirits because we have stayed together all these years, and
we clicked right out of the gate.
Oh, right. And that's what you know what? Pay attention to those things, because those are your people. You know,
Yep.
those are your people. Well, I can't thank you enough for having me today.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Mine. And I will be seeing you very soon and talking to you all very soon.
All right. Thank you, Kelly, for your time, and have a good one. All right.
Bye, baby. Bye.